We good? Question 3. The requirements. A. Calculate the full cost per unit. The requirement is very important. I think John and Ellie, you missed that thing. Per unit. I think you guys were trying to work in total. So that is something you have to take into consideration very well. So we are calculating.
You do it in total, then you divide by the total quantity.
No. It could be done, but that would take you time. I hope you are getting the idea. Because working in total will take you more time than working in the per unit as they have given you. Calculate the full cost per unit for products A, B, and C under traditional absorption costing using direct labor hours as the basis for absorption. We good? So that's the requirement. Let's go to the flip side. A. The gadget code produces 3 products, A, B, C, all made from the same material. Until now, it has used traditional absorption costing to allocate overheads to each product. The company is now considering an activity-based costing system in the hope that it will improve profitability. Information for the 3 products for the last year is as follows. So we have the units there, respectively for A, B, and C. We have their selling prices. We have the raw material usage per unit, direct labor hour per unit, machine hour per unit, production, number of production setup, number of purchases orders, flip side, number of deliveries to retailers made. The price of raw material remained constant throughout the year at how much? $1.2 per kilogram. Similarly, direct labor cost for the whole workforce was $14.8 per hour. The annual overhead costs were as follows. So we've been given the annual overhead cost. So let's get the total. What would the total be? The total of the overheads. 195. 195. 270. We got 195,270. Is that what you had? Okay. So what do we do? The examiner said we should calculate the cost. So A, cost per unit, and that's under activity-based costing. Sorry, absorption costing. So we're going to put our cost sign up. So direct material cost. What's there about direct material cost? On the flip side, we are told that raw material usage is what? Per unit is what? 2 kilograms for A. So I need to bring that up there. Like this. A, B, and then C. Now, I'm not going to be writing a couple of things, so you make sure you follow me. So raw material usage in kilogram per unit, A is what? 2 kilograms. What is the price per kilogram? It's on the flip side here as 1.2. So 1.2 times 2, what do I have? Okay. B uses 3. So 3 times 1.2.
3.6.
C uses 4. So 4 times 1.2.
4.6.
Okay. I hope it makes sense. So that's the first thing. Direct material. Then we come to direct labor cost. What is the issue about the labor cost? Direct labor hour per unit is what? 0.1 for A, 0.15 for B, 0.2 for C. Now go to the flip side. We are told that the labor rate per hour is what? 14.8. So 14.8, the labor hour per unit is what? 0.1. So 14.8 times 0.1, what do we have? 1.48. Then 0.15 times 14.8. 2.22. C uses 0.2. So 0.2 times 14.8. 2.96. So that is the direct material, direct labor. We add the two and we get prime cost. So we go. Please fastest hand on this one.
The B is 5.82.
5.82, So this is question 2. Sorry, question 3.
C is
7.76.
And then A. And B and the second.
That is 3.88.
3 points.
88.
Okay, overheads. What's the issue about the overheads? Since we are under absorption costing and overheads is absorbed using labor hours, we need to get a total budgeted what? Labor hours. Are you getting the idea? So work it. How do we get a total budgeted overhead? So we bring the products A, B, C. Then we bring the labor hour per unit. What's the labor hour per unit? Respectively. A is how many hours? A is how many hours? 0.1. 0.1. B is?
0.15.
C is?
0.2.
So these are the labor hours per unit. Then we will bring the production units. Because we need total labor hours so that we can calculate the overhead absorption rate. So A is 15,000 units, B is 12,000, and C is what? 18,000. So let's multiply up and let's get the labor hours.
For A is 1,500.
1,500.
1,800.
1,800.
36.
3,600. So we add all to get a total labor hours. Add the 3 for me. Six, 900 hours. Now this is the part I would not want you to miss, so you make sure you pay attention closely. So to get our overhead figure respectively to bring here, to be brought here, we need the overhead absorption rate. And our overhead absorption rate is the total overheads divided by the total what? Labor hours, because we are using labor hours. So the total overheads now we'll calculate here, and I'm say again $195,270 divided by 6,900 hours. What do I have? 28.3 per what? $28.3 per labor hour. Now, this is where I want you to stay with me more closely. We have calculated
28.
yes, 28.3. We've calculated the overhead absorption rate, 28.3. Now, it is this overhead absorption rate we will use to absorb the overheads. So we will use the overhead absorption rate to multiply by what? The actual labor hours that were used. So 28.3, A uses 0.1. What do we have?
2.83.
2.83. B uses 0.15, 4.25, and then C.
5.66.
We good. So that's it. Total cost. $6.72 or 71. Yeah. 6.71, and then this one 10.707, 12, 13, 13.42. That's it. So this is the A aspect of the question, and that is for 5 marks. Because the examiner knows that there is no much work to be done. And only 5 marks. Calculating the cost per unit using that. So, Obripon, to address your question, if you wanted to do it in total, then you would have multiplied this by all the units. So that's it. In the Juma, now I say be divided. It is also you work in unit. You work in the units. So if it says total, then we work in total. So B says still we should calculate the cost per unit, but this time around we're going to be using activity-based costing. Now in activity-based costing, we need to calculate the overhead absorption rate for each of the cost drivers given. Are you getting it? So we have the machine setup cost, machine running cost, procurement cost, and then what? Delivery cost. So the question is, how do we calculate the overhead absorption rate for the machine setup cost? What cost driver do we use? Machine setup. Do we have number of production runs there? Yes. Number of production runs is the same as number of setups. So sometimes if we don't have number of setup and you're going to calculate the machine setup cost, you can use the number of what? Production run. So if you check, let's do some workings here, please. The number of production run, add and give me the total. Like 15, 12, 8. What do we have? I think 36. Okay. Then the number of purchases orders per annum. Let's add that one too. 94. Then on the flip side, number of deliveries to retails per annum. Let's get a total for that. 140. Okay. So now, in calculating the overhead absorption rate for the machine setup cost, we'll bring the overheads for the machine setup, which is 26,550 over the total production runs, which is what? 36. So what do we have? What do we have? 737.5 dollars per what? Production run. So John, this is where you missed it, and then you, right? So you make sure that you get a concept well. Next item. What's the next cost put there? Machine running cost. How do we share machine running cost? $66,400 divided by, what do you think we will use for machine running?
Machine hours.
Machine hours. Do we have machine hours in the question? We have the per unit. That means we have to calculate what? The totals. So this is what we do. I'm going to do that down here. Okay? I'm going to do that down here. So A, B, C. So give me the machine hour per unit. What's the machine hour per unit? 0.5. 0.7. No 7.
0.9.
No 9. Then we bring what? The production units. What do we have? Production units. A is 15,000. 12,000. 18,000. So we multiply. To get a machine hours, 7,500. Please stop writing and let's punch together and confirm when we finish. You write 10,000.
8,400.
If you never so be it, I am going to you. You're very wrong with this. Then the last one.
16,200.
16,200. Now give me total. So total machine hours.
32,100.
32,100 hours. So now that 32,100 is what we bring here. Okay? Because we are using machine hours to allocate. So what do I have? $2.07 per machine hour. Per machine hour. Then the third one. The third one is procurement. What do we use to allocate procurement cost? What cost driver?
Number of purchases.
Number of purchases orders. So total number of purchases orders is what? 94 orders. So let's go. What we got?
510.6
Per purchases order. Okay. Then we go to the last one, which is delivery cost. The cost of delivery a baby
Number of units.
is 54,320. What do we use?
Number of units.
Number of delivery, which is 140. So can we have an answer? 387.9 per delivery. Are we done? No. Because if you check carefully, we've not actually done anything yet. All we've done is to calculate the overhead absorption rate. So now we're going to allocate that. So we're going to allocate the overhead absorption rate. So let's go. If you check it out, we're going to have A, B, and C. Then we're going to bring everybody there to get the answer. Now you're going to follow me here because I'm going to be skipping a couple of things. I will not be writing a lot. So the first thing is the machine setup cost. So follow me well. So machine setup cost. What is the rate? 27. Now can we? Okay, 273. 37.5 per what? Production run. How many production run did A do? From the question.
16.
Into multiply. You multiply this by the 16. What we got? Yenyan. One. B. How many did B do? 12. So 12 times that same figure.
8850.
How many did C do?
8.
So 8 times that same figure.
5,900.
Okay. So that's the machine setup cost. Then we come to machine running cost. So we go. Machine running cost is 2.07 per machine hour. So we go. How many machine hours did A do? It is here. 7,500. So this times 7,500, what do we have? Next, B did 8,400. So times the same thing.
17,136.
C did 16,200 times the same 2.07.
33,048.
So there you go for the machine running cost. Then we come to the third thing, procurement. What do we have for procurement? 510.6, okay, per purchases order. How many purchases order did A make? From the question. 24. So multiply that by the 510.6.
1, 2, 2, 5, 4.
1, 2, 2,
5,
5, 4.
4. 0.4.
Okay, we can ignore that. 1, 2, 2, 5, 4, right? 0.4, we can ignore that. Next one. B did how many purchases orders?
28.
So 28 times 510.6.
14297.
14297. Approximately. C did how many?
42.
So 42 by 510.6.
21445.
There you go. There you go. So that's how we go. But we know that the last one, delivery cost. Delivery cost, we use number of deliveries. How many deliveries did A make?
48.
Aye?
48.
48. Now we can run this guy over to make it 388, right? So just do 388 times 48. What we got?
We have 18624.
B did how many deliveries?
30.
So 30 times 388.
11640.
C did how many deliveries?
62.
Times 388.
24056.
Now this is where I want you to focus very well. Now we've allocated the overhead absorption rate for each of the products based on the cost drivers and then the cost pool. So let's get a total respectively. So that's total overheads.
You calculated the total.
Is it?
What is the total? What am I saying? The total overhead.
We need to calculate the total overheads and get the total overheads per unit, and that is what we are going to bring here. Are you getting it? So please add for me quickly, respectively.
C.
Yeah.
8449. 8349.
B 51923.
Five, 7, 978.
Now, after having the total overheads, because we are calculating the cost per unit, we need to divide these figures by what? The production units to get a cost per unit. So what's the production units? Respectively,
15,000.
15,000,
12,000.
12,000,
18,000.
18,000. So you divide. Okay? So the overheads divided by the units, so that we'll get the overheads per unit. Please divide for me.
A is 3.9.
Uh-huh.
4.3.
So these are now the overheads that we bring here, so that now we can get a total cost per unit. So you can add that to the prime cost respectively, and then we get a total cost. So this is what the examiner said we should do, but we have to go through all of these workings to get just that one line item. What is the A? Say there. So all costs can be separated into fixed and variable elements. That's the first assumption we can talk about. Then we said, what was the second point? Second point is the total output is the same as what? Total sales. Hence there is no closing inventory. Then your point. Fixed cost remains the same irrespective of the output level. Okay, that's another point we can say.
Can I also put it? Fixed cost remains fixed within the relevant range of production. This point, I want to put it in the
Within a relevant range. No, then you're talking about step cost. By break-even analysis, we don't take into consideration step cost. Yes. He said fixed cost remains the same irrespective of the output level. And Japan, your point is invalid. Because when you say within a relevant range, meaning if we go beyond that range, step cost bebemu. But break-even analysis, we don't consider what fixed cost is fixed. It's fixed, irrespective of the output level. Whilst variable cost varies with the output level.
But the book uses constant. I don't know.
Variable cost per unit
It's constant.
remains the same. Now, somebody missed that thing. I don't know, maybe a dreamer or something like that. The variable cost doesn't remain the same, but the variable cost per unit remains the same. So total fixed cost remains the same irrespective of the output level. Then variable cost per unit also what? Remain the same. I hope it makes sense. How many points do we have?
Fixed cost remains the same regardless of output.
Yes. How many points we got? Say 3 marks. Okay, I'll say 4. What are you here for?
The variable cost per unit remains the same.
Yes.
I know you said variable cost varies with
That's per unit.
That one is different points, and then the per unit is also different. Are you getting it? I hope you are not confused. Total variable cost varies with the output level because the more you produce, the more variable cost you incur. However, the variable cost per unit remains the same.
So I have 5.
Okay, you have 5. We could add that the only factor that affects cost and revenue is what? Output levels. The only factor affecting or that affects cost and revenue is the output level. The output level. So these are some of the things we can say.
the only factor affecting
Cost and revenue is output level. So these are some points we can raise on absorption costing. Hey, the break-even analysis. Then the limitations. What are the? Nobody wrote the limitations.
The limitations, let me try.
Okay.
So the things you just mentioned are
The assumptions.
okay.
The limitations. In the assumptions, you stated that
You said you didn't know.
See the limitations.
You didn't see it. So the who really had jumping. Shame.
The only factor affecting cost and revenue is output. It's not true because technology can also affect sales and output.
Okay. That's it. That's one limitation we can say there. So you see, this is the trick. In the limitation, you just flip the assumptions. Because assumptions they all in a Bibrian draw. Once we said because one of the assumptions also is that technology efficiency remains unchanged. That is why we are saying the only factor that affects cost and revenue is what? Output level. But as he is saying, other factors can affect what? The cost and then revenue, which is what? Technology. So that is the limitation. So that assumption there, it's false. What else?
And also, in the assumptions, you made mention of the fact that there is no opening and closing stock, which is not the case in reality.
In reality. So that assumption doesn't hold. Are you getting the idea? So the assumption that production is the same as sales or is equal to sales does not hold. That's a limitation we can say. What else?
This fixed cost remains the same regardless of output level. How do you
Flip it up. Flip it up.
fixed cost?
This is where your point comes in.
Yes.
That fixed cost remaining the same irrespective of the does not hold. In that fixed cost may remain the same within a given range of output level. However, after that, the fixed cost may what? Vary. I hope you are getting the point. So we are just the pioneer assumptions, no, like the limitations. So that's it. What's it about that? I think we have some 4 points, right? And I know a point. So I think these are some limitations we can mention. You can go and read the rest. So I didn't see limitations. So how come you saw the assumptions? Or when you saw the assumption on Oja already? So how come you know it's the assumption of break-even? You actually jumped the limitation and went to rate the cost volume profits. Okay, D. Differences between process costing and job costing. We go.
With job costing, output may vary. Then with process costing, the same output is gotten. In that, with job costing, you do the job to suit a customer's specification.
Okay.
So if you are doing for maybe 3 different outputs, you may have different results due to the as a result of
the specification.
Exactly.
So why not use the specification as the difference? That, for instance, in job costing, the job is undertaken to customers' specific requirement. But in process costing, job may not be undertaken, or this is how we can put it. Job is undertaken to a customer specific requirement in a standard or a one-time transaction. But in the process costing, job may be undertaken by the customer's specific requirement, but it may go through various stages. Because sometimes, the reason why I made that thing is that, for instance, there are some industries like car manufacturing. It's a process costing. It goes through processes. But when somebody comes and says, do a customized vehicle for me, it becomes a job. But it will still go through the processes or the stage. So the fact that it is done due to customer specific requirements is a point. But process costing, it is a standardized unit that we produce and it goes through various stages. What else can we say?
With the process costing, output of one stage becomes a raw material for the next stage.
Or the input for the next stage. Are you getting? So output of one process becomes the input for the another process. What about job costing? So you are flipping that point because we are doing differences.
Job costing, once the output is done, that is it. It doesn't become an input.
Right. So the output from a job does not go or serve as an input on another job. Does not serve as an input on another job. What else can we say?
With process costing, you have the same output, how do I
Identical.
identical output
Okay.
of a product,
Uh-huh.
but with job costing, the output is not specific or identical.
Why? If, like you said, you are my tailor, sorry, and then I say so agbada for me, right? Then I also come and say my school, we are sewing dresses for our students. Are they not identical? What you are sewing for me, is it not identical? Like, is it not specific?
It's specific.
So, how will your point be valid? Unless you justify your point. It could be true, but unless you justify it.
With the process costing, the price per unit may vary from process 1 or to
When you say, are you price per unit or cost per unit?
okay, cost per unit or even price per unit.
Okay, may vary.
May vary.
From yes, it's true.
Yeah.
From one process to another. But under job costing, price is fixed, and then after the job, it is sold at that price. I hope you get the idea. Because with process costing, you know, that's why we did something in the short-term decision called further processing. So that at the split off point, you can sell the product. But when you further process, you can sell it at a premium. So yes, price and cost may vary at every stage in process costing, but in job costing, the price may remain or remains the same. What else can we say? Now, we could say that under job costing, the cost of each job is ascertained separately. Right? Under job costing, the cost of each job is ascertained separately. But in process costing, costs are compiled into process, and cost per unit is determined by dividing the units with the process cost. But in process costing, costs are compiled into process cost, and cost per unit is determined. Costs are compiled into process cost, and the cost per unit is determined by dividing the units the total process cost by the unit. By dividing the total process cost by the unit. By dividing the total process cost by the unit. Now, if you remember process cost carefully, when we were calculating cost per unit, we said it is equal to what? Process cost minus normal loss divided by what? Estimated output. Expected output. But in job costing, we don't do this. Are you getting it? We calculate a job. So if I come and I say, so agbada for me, my cost is going to be different. Somebody says, so wedding gown for me, it's going to be different because the cost of each job is calculated separately.
Can we also say, under process costing, allowance is made for normal loss and the job costing.
We can say, but I'm trying to see if we can hold. Do you think it's possible?
It's possible.
But then,
Because I've not seen job costing.
they're doing normal loss really calculation. But you know, indirectly, they do normal loss. In the sense that when you take your dress to the seamstress, like for instance, I want to sew a top, 2 years. But definitely, he's not going to use the whole 2 years. So indirectly, he has built it in the system. But then just that in job cost, as you said, we don't calculate it. So yes, it's a point we can raise. We can raise it's valid. So under job costing, no provision is made for what? Normal loss, or no calculation is made. Let's clarify it like that. That no calculation is made for normal loss, but in process costing, calculation and allowance is made for normal loss. I like the way you guys are thinking. So that's it about that. Okay, so let's go to question 4. Where somebody excelled excellently there. The sharks. Where the sharks put the dolphins in the water and chew all of them. Okay, so let's go question 4. Now, the reason why I'm answering that the question in that order is that if you check closely the questions, the question 3 we just solved was based on absorption costing, activity-based costing, and some element of what? Short-term decisions. And I'm about question 4. Question 4 also is part of what? Short-term decisions. So I am building it like that so that we know the areas that we are focusing on and how the questions will be set and how we are supposed to answer it. That's why I'm taking the questions like that. So let's go to question 4. Someone should read question 4 for us.